In terms of the types of abuses we're seeing forced labor of persons with disabilities. We're seeing commercial sexual exploitation of persons with disabilities, both adults and children. We also see something that we refer to as sexual servitude as forced labor. And what that is that it's non-commercial sexual abuse, but we consider that forced labor. As well as sexual violence and sexual assault. Anecdotally, some of these cases have some of the most extreme physical violence and abuse that we've seen among human trafficking cases. We have hunches as to why, but we don't have a firm answer as to why these cases are sometimes so horrible. But one example, for instance, is a case, U.S. v. Linda Weston. The news reports in Philadelphia refer to it as the Basement of Horrors case. And that was a case in which Weston and her co-defendants specifically targeted 6 adult individuals with varying disabilities, intellectual, cognitive, and developmental disabilities, in order to become their representative payees and then steal their Social Security income benefits. So that's one layer of abuse. And you see that often, just generally, you see that abuse and exploitation of persons with disabilities. Where the trafficking then came in is that Weston and her co-defendants forced 2 of the female victims into commercial sex. And in addition to that, they just were horribly abused. They traveled around different cities, and in each city that they lived, they forced the victims to live in attics and closets and basements. They were malnourished. In fact, 2 of the victims died from malnourishment. They were basically fed food laced with sedatives to keep them calm. Weston and her co-defendants forced the victims to have sex with each other, the goal being so that the female victims would become pregnant, and then they took the female victim 3 times to different hospitals when she gave birth and made her basically put the name of the mother down as Weston, or one of Weston's co-defendants. That end goal being that they could then claim that baby, Weston could claim that baby as their own, and then begin to collect that baby's benefits and Social Security and other government benefits. It's a horrible case. And that case was really happenstance the way it broke. It was a landlord who was doing a routine inspection of his property that Weston was renting, and he went down into the basement to look at the basement, and he found these victims locked in this filthy basement. If you can find the pictures online, and it's just you wouldn't put animals down there. And one of the victims was actually chained to the boiler. And so he called police, and the police were able to rescue the victims in that case. In that case, Linda Weston was sentenced to life plus 80 years, and the co-defendants were sentenced to varying other sentences, and they were ordered to pay restitution. Unfortunately, the court ordered restitution to be paid to the Social Security Administration and not the victims, which we find very troubling.